All right. Now let us say hello to a man who I've been wanting to talk to for quite some time. We tried to connect last year around this time prior to the Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone fight. It did not come to fruition, but it is an honor now to talk to, for the very first time, the head coach and the administrator over at the world famous Crumlin Boxing Club. He is a two-time Olympic boxer, multiple-time national champion. He is the boxing coach for one Conor McGregor. He is in Dubai right now getting set for UFC 257. He's a part of the Team McGregor squad that's getting ready to fight Dustin Poirier. He's the one and only Mr. Phil Sutcliffe, who's kind enough to join us. Coach Sutcliffe, thank you very much for the time. Thank you. It's great to talk to you.
Pleasure.
So this is exciting stuff. I've never had a chance to talk to you. I've talked to John Kavanagh and Owen Roddy plenty of times, but excited to talk to you. I know you know Conor longer than both of those men, longer than most people in the fight game. Could you tell us, when was the first time you met Conor McGregor?
The first time I met Conor was when he came into the gym when he was only 10 years of age. I think his mother, he was out playing football out in the Crumlin ground. We have there's a Crumlin football team trains behind our gym. And he was training there, and he came in with his football boots, and the guy, Stephen Kavanagh, one of my other coaches, told him to get the boots off, son. You're not allowed into the gym with them football boots. So he took them off, gave them to his mother or his father, I'm not so sure. And he came back in, he started punching the bag. And Stephen sent him over to me, and I told him he'd have to get his mother's permission or his father's permission to join the club, to officially join the club. And not long after that, I think his father brought him down, and he joined the club, and he was there till he was nearly 17, and he was always diligent, and he put a lot into his training. He was one of them kids you didn't have to push to train. He just trained. He put 100% in everything he did in his practice, and like he does now. But we instilled that in the kids with our shots and our drills, and we produced some very, very good kids. And Conor's just one of them, but he's the special. He's the superstar, the man that got to fight Mayweather. You know what I mean? And through his MMA aptitudes, you know what I mean? It was fantastic. When he came back into the door now, he's back in with us 2 years now. He came back. He asked me, could he come back training? I was delighted, very over the moon. And he came back in, and his boxing end of things is getting much better, and he's still improving, right? But he just practice. He's like a machine. You know what I mean? He's very, very good.
And of course, I will ask you about the reunion, but I want to go back to the early days. I love the idea of a 10-year-old Conor McGregor walking into your boxing club with his football cleats on, and you telling him to take them off. Do you recall? And I'm sure
it wasn't me that told him. It was Stephen Kavanagh.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was doing some administrative stuff in the office. And then Stephen sent him in to me, and he wanted to join. I said, "You have to get your." I didn't. It was just a kid. I get loads of kids.
Sure, of course.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and I said, "Get your mother or father to come down with you to fill in the forms. You need your parent permission." And less than a week later, his mom, I think it was his mother or father, I'm not sure now, that brought him down, and he signed up. And there he was in the gym doing the drills, and he was there. He was there with my own son, Paulie Kavanagh, Jamie Kavanagh. He kind of hung around, they kind of knew each other. They're all the same age. He's only a year older than my son. You know what I mean? So they grew up, and you know what I mean? They've sparred together. They've done, he had his little group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was part of that group.
And of course, I mean, you've seen countless kids. I mean, you've been around the boxing scene in Ireland for many decades. But do you recall thinking at some point, as you're watching him grow, you said from 10 to 17, that he has something in him, that he's a little different than the other kids? Could you tell that he would be a special athlete?
He was a special athlete from the beginning. As I said, he was very diligent. He was one of them kids that practiced till he got it perfect. He practiced his Russians, his Drigan Does, his change. He goes from orthodox to southpaw. We practiced, but he was very good. He was we had a few kids like him in the club, and they all became champion. But when he would have been champion himself if he stayed. But he started mixing around the martial arts around 15, 16. And I wasn't mad into the martial arts, just rolling on the ground, and MMA was only starting. But like, look at him now. I'm glad now that he started mixing, because I was giving out to him. He was missing some fights and stuff, like, because he wanted to learn to grapple, he wanted to learn wrestling, he wanted to learn other stuff. And I wasn't mad now, because if you're going to be good, you have to stick to one, to one. We just say to one sport, right? And but he didn't. He mixed around, and then he was going. Then he knew he couldn't put it in to be the boxing. He knew that, because he was so interested in the grappling, the wrestling, the taekwondo, and all that other stuff he was doing. I mean, and that was only starting. That was only starting to get big, in back then.
To the best of your knowledge, why did he leave at age 17?
Because he wanted to focus on the MMA stuff.
Was that disappointing for you?
Very disappointing, right? Very disappointing. And I think it was more awkward for him to come down. I think he moved house from Crumlin to Clondalkin, so it was a little bit further away as well. And then he had to get a job. You know what I mean? He had to do different things. It became a little bit awkward then. You know what I mean? To stay in the mix for the wrestling, the grappling, and as much, and to be a boxer and to go up the caliber, to try and go to the Europeans, to represent your country and Ireland, you have to put 100% into it.
Did you have a conversation?
He does that with his martial arts.
Right.
Now the way he's after evolving now, right? He does it for the wrestling. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's a fantastic jiu-jitsu boy. He's a fantastic, because he has the champions. He has the few bob to get all these champions in. To either he has champion teachers. He's a great crew around him. He has Stephen Kavanagh. John Kavanagh. He has Sergey, the wrestling. He also has a fantastic nutritionist.
Tristan.
I'm not losing his name. He'll crack up young Kennedy, Tristan Kennedy.
Yes.
Right? He does a wonderful job. Like, he works 24/7. And look at the shape of Conor. My God. He's like one of them young characters. You know what I mean? And he puts it in, the work that he puts in between. He has Colin doing his kicks. He has the doctor making out the program. We make the program out together. We find out, but then realistically, Conor shapes that program to the way he thinks it's going to work. That's his magic. He has a little bit of magic. He shapes his sparring partners, and he has some great sparring partners. Now we've 3 kids over here from our 2 kids over here from our own club. 3 kids, from our own club. Basically, looking forward to the Manny fight. We have one of them, and he's sparring him. You know what I mean? And we've 2 kids at that caliber. And then we our own William Hayden, who's 11 times national champion and former European youth champion, and he's sparring Conor as well in the boxing end of things. But we've been trying to keep, and he has Dylan Morden, a professional, who I think he's 17-1 or 15-1. He's one, and he's having fantastic spars, tightening up his hand, tightening up his striking, tightening up his defence. Right, basically working on his defence. With Paddy Brady working on his defence, and I structure the whole boxing end of things where he can it's 5-minute rounds in the octagon, right? And if he can keep the pace where he's keeping now at the moment, right, he's in good shape. He's in very, very good shape. He was ready to fire off when we were in Shinobi a few weeks ago, right? So he came down, and when he came home, he downed the training to 1 session a day, and every 3 days he just take 1 day off. And then he's back up on that horse now again, ready to fire on the 24th. I think it's the 23rd in your place and the 24th over here.
Right. We've all heard the story about, him kind of drifting away from martial arts a little bit, and he was about to be a plumber and all this stuff. Is it true that you actually lent him some money to get some of his tools early on in his plumbing days?
No, that's one of my other coaches that's here, Paddy Brady.
Okay.
He's in the other room listening to this.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Right. So Paddy lent him the money for his tools, and he only paid him about 2 years ago. Wow. He gave him that 70 quid that he owed him, and he gave him a big check. You know what I mean? So Paddy got a big, massive check. You know what I mean? for the crack, and we're framing and I'm putting it into the club. He didn't cash it.
That's amazing. When Conor then, of course, several years later starts to rise up the ranks and he's becoming this international superstar, I know you're very locked into the boxing world, but before you reconnected, are you aware of who he became? And is it kind of blowing your mind? Like this was my guy. I saw him when he was 10 years old. Like, are you following the journey, even though you're not an MMA guy?
I was never mad about MMA. I used to think it was barbaric. But
wow.
After being involved in it and watching it, I have great respect for the amount of work, hard work and training and practice and drills that goes into this game. It's a very hard game. I think they should tighten up on the referees. The referees do let some of the fights go on a little bit too long, especially when guys are knocked out on the ground and then the other guy comes in and I was only looking at this yesterday and smashing him with the hand while he was on the ground. The guy couldn't move, you know what I mean? But like the referees, that was the referee's fault, you know what I mean, for not submitting the guy himself, you know what I mean?
Coincidentally, as Conor rises, he takes that Mayweather fight when he's a massive star, but you were not a part of that camp. You had not reconnected yet. How did you feel about seeing a guy you worked so closely with as a youngster go into a match against the greatest of all time, arguably, and not be a part of it?
Well, I was a little bit disappointed that I wasn't asked, of course you would, but I was very happy with his performance. It could have been better if I was there with my team. Of course it would have been better. Not it could have been, it would have been better if I was there with my team. And he trained for a boxing fight with martial arts fellas, which it's unrealistic. You know what I mean? And he did a good job. He hit Mayweather more punches than any other boxer ever hit him with. It's in the stats, right? Imagine if he had proper training leading up to this from a boxing gym. When we take on Manny Pacquiao, please God, it'll only be in a boxing gym. He won't be kicking, he won't be wrestling, he won't be doing any of that stuff. It'll be basically all boxing drills to stay up with Manny. You know what I mean? That's the way we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. We've discussed it with his manager, I've discussed it with Conor, and he's all for us. He knows. When he's asked, he knows now. He knows now that he should have been back. For him to come back as the superstar that he is, it gets me up. It gives me another bit of a lift because I was starting to take a break. I'm handing my job over in the gym. I'm going to just be coaching kids rather than run the club. I'm training a guy in to take my place. Aaron Dempsey, by the way, that beat Malignaggi. You know what I mean? So that's the guy that's going to be taking my place in about 2 years' time when he learns all the ropes. You know what I mean? It's been taken over with good hands.
Do you think that Conor wins that fight against Floyd Mayweather if he trained with you and your team?
He had a better chance. I'm not saying he was going to win. That's a hard ask. That's a hard ask for Mayweather. Is one of the most exceptional sportsmen in the world. You know what I mean? And the Manny Pacquiao one is going to be a hard ask. Right, but we can do it. We'll do a better job. Put it this way, right? We'll do a better job.
So, how did you reconnect? Did he just walk back into the gym one day? Did he send you a message? What was the story there?
Sent me a message on the phone. Boy, Phil, do you mind if I come back to do a bit? I said, Conor, be an honour. So he just arrived with all his crew, his films, his entourage of people, and it was like a little. A little, what we say, a little circus coming into the gym with the film guys and the mics and his crew and his bodyguards and then his D came down as well with kids. You know what I mean? So it was nice. It was nice, but it's like he's the superstar, and all the kids do not know his car. He drives around Crumlin. You know what I mean? He drives he still keeps connected to his friends. You know what I mean? He's still close to home. He's a homeboy too. You know what I mean? That made him really big.
When he reconnected with you and asked you to come back, did he give you a reason why he felt like this was the right thing for him to do?
Why he reconnected, right? He wanted to improve, I'd say, on his striking. When I'd be so proud when I didn't really watch him. You know what I mean? And now I didn't watch it until till he said, Phil, watch this fight and watch that fight. And then I look at his fight and what do I see? I see the Russian. I see him stepping back, throwing his backhand. I see him reading all the Crumlin shots. He's knocking these guys out with the shots he's learned as a boy from 10 years of age. Like, he doesn't go to the ground, which he's like, and all the shots were learned in our gym. He went back to his fundamentals in the cage, which was fantastic. And I was so proud of his footwork and his skills, stepping off, moving back, his dancing movement, his sliding around, staying close to his opponent, his attacking movement, and letting his opponent's attack coming into his backhand or into his right hook. He's very, very good at that. And believe me, he's got better. He has got better. Dustin, I hope you're watching. He's got better.
I understand that you have a tradition at your boxing club, a set of Good Friday fights, right? Where you guys have this big event every Good Friday. And he came back a couple of years ago and was in the main event. What was that like for the club to basically be in a smoker like that?
He did an exhibition with one of our guys, and he has done two since. He's done two since.
Wow.
Like, he's done Michael McGregor, who was an Irish champion twice at the youth level, and he's one of the strongest punchers, and he represented us in Italy and he represented us in Denmark in an international stage. But like, it was a cracking exhibition. Conor put on the showcase, you know what I mean? And he put on the Conor McGregor style, making a miss, looking down, doing the push-ups on the ground. It was a show, but I never told anybody that Conor was on the show. Do you understand? I just let our Good Friday show was a sellout every year anyway. We had more room to put people. So if I told people that Conor was coming down the place, the whole car park, everything would have been saturated. So I never said anything. When they seen him, like after fighting Mayweather and getting millions for it, and coming down to fight free in the Crumlin Boxing Club, I think over in your place we only charged $10 in 10 euros into the show, right? Because it's local.
Right.
And see Conor McGregor on it, the people were amazed. And he intermingled with the crowd afterwards. The children were, like, we normally put the children off after 6 o'clock, because we do have a few drinks served afterwards. But we didn't let the kids go this time because of Conor. I wanted them to get the feel of it. And he kind of just lit up the place. He actually lit up you could feel the magic in the gym that night. You could actually feel the magic.
That's wonderful. And I thought, and I wonder what you think about this, I found there to be great symbolism in the fact that he reconnected with you leading up to the Cerrone fight last year, because as you know, he has enjoyed such great success, but in 2019, it was a difficult year for him. There was some controversies, ups and downs, and it felt like to me, reconnecting with you, who was a part of his youth and who got him truly interested in combat sports, and your entire team, was a sign that he was a changed man, that he was going back to the old Conor. And we saw him leading up to the Cerrone fight. He was on, great behavior. He was very appreciative, no drama, no controversy. Did you feel the same way like this? It was almost like a Zen-like Conor in front of us. And it seems like it's the same kind of guy in front of us. Again, there's no controversy this time. And teaming up with you kind of signaled that to me. Did you see that kind of symbolism as well?
You see, we in the boxing game and in most sports, like you go into John Kavanagh's gym, you genuflect on the thing. It's respectful. You respect your opponent. You've seen that with the cowboy. You respect his opponent and his wife and his family and his granny that was in the ring. You respect it, and he's more of a humble guy now. Like, it's very hard to come from an apprentice plumber only a few years ago, and then from going from the dole to an apprentice plumber, and to give his life up, and it's not that far back either, and to come to be one of the Muhammad Ali names, superstars of the whole world, that people recognize Conor McGregor, from the back end of America to the small parts of Moldova and Russia and all them places. He is a renowned hero and a renowned fighter. And now, with the talks we're after having, he's humble. He is actually humble, right? But he makes the choice to be humble. He's around humble people. He's putting himself around good people, right? And he treats us very, very well. He treats us very well. One of the hotels over here
Yes.
in Dubai. It's fantastic. You wouldn't mind being isolated in this hotel room. It's huge, and it's jacuzzi and anything you want. 24-hour service. It's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, he looks after us, like, and it's fantastic. And I'm humbled. Not only humbled that he walked back into the gym, like, he's after giving me a lift to go back into my coaching. Like, I was taking it slower down my coaching, but it was a star like him that gave me a lift to get back fit myself. So I'll be able to keep up and do the pads and keep on top of them, and be able to work with his crew and organize things. Like, I've taken teams away. It doesn't matter what I've done, but he's taken me away now, and I look after him, and I make sure that his training program is kept up to date. We keep a close eye on his program, and he's very diligent on this. He's on a time scale now because he's keeping to the time scale. He's up very early in the morning training. He's doing his second sessions. His weight is coming down. Everything is just, the box are being ticked. The box are being ticked as we go along for this fight.
Obviously, after the Cerrone fight, it was a very different world that we were living in, and plans changed. He wanted to fight at least 3 times in 2020. But I'm curious, did he keep in contact with you, even though he wasn't fighting? And I know that the rules were very strict in Ireland, but were you able to keep tabs even prior to this fight against Dustin Poirier being booked?
Of course. We had our own gym open just for him. You know, we kept a social, like, elite athletes were allowed to train all the time, even in Ireland. But they had to keep their distance. We were in pods of 5 now. But when Conor came to the gym, all he had was his crew, his film crew that worked so hard, and Tristan, and then the doctor and Colin, right? And then if John Conlon came across to have a look at the spar, or Owen Roddy, they were invited. But we kept our distance. We wore a mask. We did everything that was to keep everybody safe.
I've heard you call him the Muhammad Ali of the UFC. That's obviously a very big statement. Do you say that because of his fame, his impact, or do you say that really because of his striking? Like, do you see similarities between him and Muhammad Ali?
Well, there's similarities between Muhammad Ali and the name. He has as big a name as Muhammad Ali all over the world. All over the world. He's been. A lot of people don't know what he's done for loads of different kids, like helping the Children's Hospital, buying them so many £1,000 worth of masks, you know. And he was the first celebrity to do that in Ireland, right? To supply it and go out himself and deliver it. Do you understand? And go out himself and deliver it. The gowns, the masks, and the gloves, and he bought thousands upon thousands of pounds worth of stuff to give to hospitals, old folk homes. Now, he was one of the first, and then the ball rolled. Someone else did it, but he was one of the first in Ireland. So it was fantastic, like, to be so generous, to, you know, and he is generous. Like, he's sharing the wealth. You know what I mean? He is that type of guy. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not blowing his hat off. Like, if he was sitting here, he's just Conor. When he goes out into the public eye, he's McGregor. You know, he's Conor when he's here, having our chats with the kids playing around him. But when he's training, he's just Conor. You know what I mean? But when he goes to the public eye, he's McGregor. He's Conor McGregor. The shoulders and the chin goes up. And he is putting on the show because he's a great showman too. Do you understand? He's a very, very good showman. You don't get to be Conor McGregor very easily. You know, you have to put the work in. And as I said, now with the team that he's built around him, you have to remember Conor built that team around him, right? And if you're not going to be any good, you don't last that long. You know what I mean? You know, he doesn't think that you're going to be there for him, right? For his enlightenment, the life and his skill and his sport and his businesses. You have to remember he has so many businesses, and to keep on top of all of this, right? He has good men. He has an accountant there, Alan Gerety, 24/7. He has everybody working 24/7. Look at me. on the phone to you 24/7. Now, we know we're not going to get called tonight. We can have a beer, you know what I mean, because he's finished training. You know what I mean? We can relax and watch the TV, stay in our COVID world. We all got tested today. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what it is. We're in a COVID world now, and I don't know whether it's too hard or it's true, but I know there's people getting sick. You know what I mean? There's people getting sick. They're not all dying, of course, thank God. But there is people getting sick. No one seems to have to die of the flu anymore, or bronchitis, or it's all COVID. You know what I mean? There's a lot of problems at home with suicides, and there's lots of things going on at home. For closing the gyms, a lot of vulnerable kids getting into trouble. There's rows, and there's a lot of violence at home. Like in America at the moment, we have pockets of that at home as well because of this COVID.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But this is something that people back home can look forward to, his return. And I just want to ask you a couple more questions if I can. Obviously, the first time he fought Dustin back in 2014, it was relatively one-sided, right? Less than 2 minutes. And very recently, they put out a video where Conor said under 60 seconds was his prediction. I'm curious, how do you see it playing out? Do you agree with Conor? Do you see it being an under 60-second fight?
I believe if Conor believes he can do it. That's what I believe. I have to see it yet. I'm a boxing coach. I have to see Conor makes the magic. Whoever thought that he was going to hit the cowboy with his shoulder? You know what I mean? On a miss, he missed the shot, and then he made up for it. On the fall, he caught the cowboy, banged him with his shoulder, broke his nose, came around with a beautiful kick. I was hoping he'd catch him with a left hook or on the change Russian to put him to the end, but it didn't happen that way. A win is a win, no matter what way you get it. I'm hoping for a win. Tell all his fans a win is a win, right? And if It's a good fight, it's a good fight. But he's in tremendous condition.
What do you think of Dustin's boxing?
His boxing is not so great. You know what I mean? His boxing, I know he has a jab. He has a good jab that you don't see. You know what I mean? His hands are very wide. His hands are wide. He holds his hands out this way, where he doesn't stand on a boxing type stance. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at Dustin, I watched all his fights 2 and 3 times. Now, one of his last fights was very rough. He took it was very close, you know, but he took a lot of punishment in that fight himself. But he has a good jab. You just say that Poirier has a good jab because it's hid. You don't see it coming. You have to read it. Conor's going to read that jab. He's going to read it. He's going to read him. Well, we have a plan, but we're not saying on the Ariel show.
Sure, fair enough. I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
We have a plan.
And you have referenced the Manny Pacquiao fight. Clearly, that is something that he wants. He's been talking about it for a year.
Oh, he wants it. He wants a belt. He wants that belt.
Will it be next, do you think?
Sorry?
You think it will be next after this? You think it will be the Pacquiao fight after Poirier?
Yeah, 85, 90%, yes. Maybe April, March, April, May. I'd rather go a little. I'd like him to be in a boxing camp for at least 2 months, 8 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, he's fit now. He's going to train straight after the fight. He's going to train. Then he's going to take probably a week off. I told him to take a week off. You know, but if he wants to take a week off, he can. Right? And then get back up onto the horse. We don't want him out gallivanting too much, right? But he has to enjoy the win or the win. He has to enjoy the win. You know what I mean? Enjoy the contest.
What weight would you like that to be at? Because Pacquiao, I don't believe, has gone past 147, right? And Conor's 155. He hasn't fought at 145 in quite some time. In an ideal world for you, what weight would that be at?
Well, in an ideal world, to me, I'd like Pacquiao to be 70 kilos, wherever 155 was. What's 155? Any kilos?
Let's see here. 70 kilos is 154.
Yeah, well, 155. No, I'd like even 75 kilos. Get Pacquiao up. Yeah, in my view, the heavier Pacquiao is, the better for Conor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And on Saturday, January 23rd, 24th, over there in Abu Dhabi, you'll be in his corner, correct?
Correct. But that's the plan. I mean,
sure.
We'll know that fight week.
Well,
Keep
you know what? For sure. What a journey for you, though. I mean, someone who represented his country twice in the Olympics, a legend as far as Irish boxing is concerned. I bet you never thought you'd be cornering UFC fights, right? Especially in Abu Dhabi. But what a great journey for you, correct?
The journey is still on. The journey is still on. The journey has to go a few more and a few more. Maybe the journey will go on for the next 4 years, right? We see, especially with this COVID.
Yeah.
I was listening to Dana White there today about he's saying 2021 is going to be a fantastic year, even with no audience. He said he has a great UFC gang coming up, and we see. But Conor is the star. Conor is the star of the UFC. We can see it. Like he makes headlines no matter what happens, and we've seen it after the Vegas fight. All them press conferences, one after the other, and packed to the brim with journals.
Well, I think the perfect ending at some point of the story, rematch against Floyd, this time with you in the corner. You right that wrong.
I'd love that.
That would be nice.
That's what we could go.
For now, though, it's Dustin Poirier coming up in less than 2 weeks. Coach Sutcliffe, it's an honor, really. I've heard so much about you. Pleasure to talk to you. Best of luck to you and the team, and thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you very much, Ariel. Say hello to all the fans, your fans. Take care. God bless.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.